Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to another Seahawk Boys TV video blog live stream, whatever you want to call it. Here we are. Thanks everybody for being here. I put out a couple of videos last week, this last past week, including one where I did a Seahawks redraft, like how I would have drafted, because you guys that are all trashing on me in the comments, and it's amazing. I have to agree with Rob Staten. It is amazing that if you're the slightest little bit negative, you just get attacked by the Seahawks fans who only want to have sunshine blown up their asses, and they don't want the truth. And that there's not much you can do about that. And everybody's like, oh well, you don't have any you don't have any likes. 2 days and no likes. I had like 21 likes on 3 different channels. These videos are spread across 3 different channels because I have to do a lot of uh, setting up to make it all stream to specifically to the Seahawk Boys TV channel, which I haven't done yet. And the point is not really to like have a massive audience and make money on this thing. I'm not making any money on it. I'm not really that interested in making money. It'd be great if I could. If I wanted to make money, though, I'd come out here and tell you that the Seahawks have had 3 great drafts in a row, that they've drafted 27 straight position players, including about 14 in the trenches, none of whom are elite players. And I wouldn't say that, though. I'd say, oh, they're all great players. Charles Cross is going to be fantastic and, all that stuff. Well, that's not true. And unfortunately, what I do here is I give you the truth, whether you like it or not. I'm the doctor with no bedside manner. It tells you if you don't lose 50 pounds and quit smoking and drinking, you're going to be dead in 10 years. That's the way it is. That's what I'm here to do. I think me and Staten are the only 2 guys that are somewhat realistic about what's going on with the Seahawks. And my major emphasis is, I think it's a clown show that we traded away our franchise Hall of Fame quarterback with no plan to replace him whatsoever. Apparently, other than go get Sam Howell, who's only led the NFL in one thing ever in his career, and that's interceptions. So, what we'll do is what we'll do is I'm going to go through, and because Rob did a video yesterday where he reviewed the Seahawks draft after getting some sleep, and it influenced me. I started thinking, those picks I made, I wouldn't necessarily make those picks again. So I want to do a redo. Now, what I'm doing is I'm setting this up so that you guys, a year down the road, 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, can compare my draft with John Schneider's draft, because all I'm getting is all this stuff. Well, I'm sure glad you're not the GM, and I'm really glad the Seahawks. Yeah, you know so much more than the Seahawks do. And Rob says very humbly, I'm not saying I know more than John Schneider and the Seahawks do. You should say that, Rob, because you do. All right. John Schneider is a fucking clown. And if we have established anything in the last 10 years, it's that he doesn't know what he's doing in the offseason with free agency and the draft. Now, having said that, I will say that this year is the best year of free agency the Seahawks have ever had. So they did get some things right this year. They did what I've been advocating they do for a long time, which is go into the draft with no actual holes. There were no holes on this roster. We had a starter at left guard. We had a starter at right guard. We had starters all along the defensive line. We had starters at linebacker. We had starters at safety. We went out and signed guys. Now, they are 1-year deals, so you want to draft in behind them, but that's what day 2 and 3 picks are for. So, again, I'm just going to put it out there, but I am going to revise what I'm putting out there. It's been 2 days now, so I'm going to revise it, and then I'm going to post it, and I'm going to leave it there. And a year from now, all you doubters, all you mockers, all you guys who are going to say terrible things about me in the mailbag section, which we're going to get to at the end, well, we'll go back and we'll see whose draft would have been better, mine or Clown John Schneider. KS Mas Macho. Senor Schneider or Senor Berra? I guarantee you it's going to be me. Now, just to remind you again, had I been the GM of this team, our current quarterback would be CJ Stroud. Our middle linebacker would be Ivan Pace, because we would have traded up for and drafted both of those players last year. We wouldn't have Jackson Smith-Njigba. We wouldn't have We wouldn't have Devon Witherspoon. We wouldn't have Byron Murphy, and we probably wouldn't have Leonard Williams because that pick would have either gone in the trade for CJ Stroud or it would have been somebody else. Would have gone. It would have been used for something else. It would not have been used to bring in a 30-year-old player on a team that clearly wasn't good enough to contend. Now, having said that, with CJ Stroud as our quarterback, we might have been good enough to contend last year. So this is where we're at. So we're going to go back and we're going to redo the redraft redo, and that's going to be the permanent one that's going to stay up. And then we're going to, just sort of do a little bit of a mailbag for all you brilliant guys. And I'm going to hold you to all of your comments. So don't worry about that. Okay. So what I was influenced by yesterday was Rob Staten's really interesting review of the Seahawks draft, what he had to say about it. It's called Reflecting on the Seahawks 2024 draft class and what it means to the future. He spent an awful lot of time talking about how they continue to not deal with the quarterback situation. And it's interesting because I really think as you get into it, I think that it's become an ego thing for John Schneider. And, there's going to be some comments. Oh, as soon as you mentioned Russell Wilson, I wouldn't trade Russell Wilson. I was out of here. Well, okay, bye. What I said was, if I had been forced to make a choice in 2022 between Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll, Pete would have been fired. I wanted to fire Pete since December of 2020, when with a 20-3 lead, it's 4th and 1 on the Redskins' 49-yard line. Chris Carson has averaged 5 yards a carry in that game, and Pete Carroll fucking punts. That's when I first wanted to fire Pete Carroll, and I started to hashtag fire Pete Carroll. I think we now need a hashtag fire John Schneider. But I would have chosen Russell Wilson. Now, would I have still traded Russell Wilson? Am I saying it's a bad trade? Well, not in terms of the value that they got. 2 firsts and 2 seconds. That's pretty good value if you execute the picks correctly. We are in a waiting mode to see if these picks have been executed correctly. I think if you don't use any of them to go get another quarterback, it's a huge mistake. We also got some players. We got Shelby Harris, who's no longer with the team. We got Drew Lock, who won us 1 game in 2 years and is no longer with the team. We got Noah Fant, who is still with the team. So, right now, as it stands, it's Noah Fant, it's Charles Cross, both of whom are average starters. Noah Fant has the potential to be better if we have an offensive system that can get him the ball. And we have Boye Mafe and Devon Witherspoon. Mafe shows some potential, but right now is an average starter. Charles Cross is an average starter. And as Rob talks about in this video, which I would highly advise you to go watch, it's in the links. It's in the description, in the links below. He was a 2nd-round pick on Rob's board last year. And we took him with the 9th overall pick because we had to, because there was a run on tackles. What the Seahawks don't seem to want to deal with is that sometimes you have to do the same thing with the quarterback position because there's a run on quarterbacks. There's always going to be, from now on, a run on quarterbacks. It started last year. It continued this year, and the Seahawks should have been part of that last year, not this year. But either way, that's the only way you're going to win a Super Bowl in NFL 2024. With quarterbacks and wide receivers. So, again, I think you should go over there. And one of the really interesting things he said is just the value of these players. Now, would I have traded Russell Wilson? Well, no, I would have taken Russ's side and fired Pete because it was time to fire Pete. And I was 2 years ahead of the curve on that. So you guys can criticize me all you want, but go to at Mike Barra 333 on Twitter X. That account wasn't active in 2020 because of all the censorship and banning. But I was on the get rid of Pete Carroll thing way before Seahawks retard Nelson or Dan Veens or Hawk Blogger or Field Goals, who are a bunch of twats, were ever even on it. Okay. And Rob, to his credit, was about 6 months to a year behind me, saying Pete Carroll's the problem. Pete Carroll is the problem on the field. The problem in the front office, as we now know, is John Schneider. We had hoped it was Pete Carroll, but it appears to be John Schneider. Now, I will say this. Like I said, I think that they handled free agency really well, which is that you fill all your holes with NFL level players. Every year there's guys out there that probably would play for the minimum or $2 million or really cheap deals. And that's what you should do. And then you can use the draft to add to your strengths. Okay. So, one of the things Rob's really enthusiastic about is Byron Murphy. What a great player he is, yada yada yada. And he says, I'm not saying he's as good as Aaron Donald. So again, let's go back and let's flip over to Seahawk boy Mike Barra over on Twitter X, which is my Seahawks only Twitter account, and take a look at how I would have redrafted. Now, this is the final redraft review, and I'm not going to change off this. I would not have taken Byron Murphy. We already have Draymond Jones. We already have Jaron Reed. We already have Leonard Williams, who we invested. We invested a second round pick, and what kind of how much salary did we invest in Leonard Williams? Let's go back and look at it. Yeah, Leonard Williams. It doesn't having some issues over here. Well, I guess we'll just go back to the cap calculator. Leonard Williams, I want to take a look at his full contract. We've invested about $20 million a year over the next 2 or 3 years for him. His cap number this year is $10,400,000. So it's weird. It's having some issues. I wanted to click on this and get his current contract because usually it gives his history, but it just doesn't show anything when I do that. Contracts table. Let's see if we can go. Let's go interior defensive line. Come on. Come on. Maybe we can open the link. Nope, it's not working. It's just not working. Okay, close that. Why is it not going to interior? I don't know. He's having some issues apparently over there. But the point is, it's $20 million a year average API. For Leonard Williams. So we spent an incredible amount of money and a second round pick on a 30-year-old player who frankly isn't that great. So I do think defensive line was one of the areas in which we would like and need to improve. And it just so happens that's one of the depth areas between 16 and 40 where there were a lot of good defensive linemen. I liked Chris Jenkins a lot. I liked Ruka Rohoro a lot. I like some of the edge guys in that area. And so here's what we did. There was a trade on the table, and that trade was made. There were several trades that are rumored to be on the table. Okay. However, you can't verify any of those. The only trade that we know for sure that was on the table, there's rumors that the Eagles and the Dolphins were trying to trade up to 16. We don't know what they offered. If they offered a second round pick and Schneider turned him down, John Schneider is an idiot. Bigger idiot than I think he is, bigger clown. However, we do know there was a trade that was made. Minnesota came up from 23 to get to 17. They wanted to get to 16 because they wanted to take Dallas Turner, who I might have preferred to Byron Murphy anyway, simply because I think pass rushers that can get sacks are far more important position players in the trenches than defensive tackles are. 34 defensive tackles, 3 techniques. Oh, it's a hard thing to find, Rob says. Okay, that's great. I agree with that. But again, unless Byron Murphy is the second coming of Fletcher Cox or Aaron Donald, I don't think he's worth taking at 14, 15, 16 because we just didn't need him that bad. We had 3 starters. We had 3 solid NFL starters. are ready to play those positions. And Jonathan Hankins behind him, and Miles Adams, and some other players, Mike Morris that we had drafted last year. Why don't we find out if those guys are any good? So anyway, the trade that was made was that the Vikings traded 23 and 167. That's a fifth round pick, and a 2025 third and fourth round selections to get up to 17. I am taking that deal. I'm moving back to 23. I'm picking up 167, and I'm adding a third and fourth round pick in 2025, meaning I've got a first, a second, two thirds, and two fourths in 2025 if I want to move up or down the board. That's valuable. And to me, at 23, the guys we're looking at are, all pretty much the same as the guys we're going to look at up to about 40. Tavondre Sweat is a guy we could have taken. Frankly, I like Sweat better than I liked Byron Murphy when the Huskies played them. He's like, oh, this guy's a total homer. He's basing everything on a Husky game. Well, that's the game when I watched them the closest. Okay. I don't sit around and study film. I listen to other people who do and look at what they say, and then I go check out those players and decide whether I think they can play or not. Okay, so back to the draft. So in this draft, I trade down to 123, or sorry, to first round, 23rd pick, and I take Ruka Rohoro. Why? Because he got the most sacks out of those guys. I would have also taken Tavondre Sweat here. I would have also taken Chris Jenkins here and Ruka Rohoro. Those are guys I liked. So what I'm doing is adding another guy into the rotational interior defensive line who's about 6'4", 294. But the difference is that he can really rush the passer, and nobody says Byron Murphy does that. If, in fact, Mike McDonald said, what I really want is a big backstop against the run, then the pick is Tavondre Sweat. Oh, that's a reach because of his character. I don't care about character as a GM. I don't care about that. As long as it's football character. As long as he has football character, that's what I care about. In other words, if it's something that happened outside of the football context, I don't care. If he says, I'm over it, I'm fixed, I'm not doing it again, I'll trust the guy. Sweat made more of an impact, in my mind, was harder to deal with for that Washington offensive line in the game that I saw. But I picked Rohoro because he got 5 sacks last year, and Murphy had 1 or 2. All right, so then we slide down to pick 381. Third round for pick 81 overall. Seahawks take Christian Haynes. There were some other players there that I liked. Zach Zinter is one of them, but I'm going to say, okay, in this case, I'm going to trust my scouts or whoever. And everybody since then, including Rob Staten, who I like a lot, says Haynes is going to be a really good, crushing, road grading kind of offensive lineman. So fine. I've traded out of Byron Murphy. I've picked up 167 this year and 2 picks next year, third and fourth. Got Ruka Rohoro, who I think is probably 85% of what Byron Murphy is in terms of interior pass rush. He's probably better. So those 2 picks are really important. And here's the problem that I have mostly with Byron Murphy. How does he make the Seahawks better? Because as I look at their salary cap, they're probably going to have to move off of either Draymond Jones or Jaron Reed or both to make enough room to sign their draft picks. So in that case, unless he's the second coming of Fletcher Cox or Aaron Donald, it's a wash. We're not any better. Because I think those guys could be better players. I've said before, I think this defense the last 2 or 3 years has been less than the sum of its parts. What I'm saying is the shitty coaching staff of Pete Carroll and Clint Hurt and Ken Norton before him are the reason the Seahawks defense, especially their run defense, was so bad. And I will say Draymond Jones took to Twitter and said the same thing. So apparently Draymond Jones agrees with me. So pick number 1, Ruka Rohoro. I think he's going to be better next year than Byron Murphy. We'll see. Christian Haynes, fine. I agree with you on that one. Now we slide to the fourth round, and the Seahawks had 102. They traded out of it. Okay. So that's fine. They traded out of it and they got 118 and 121 and one. I think they got 18. Yeah. They already had 118. They got 121 and 136 for trading out of 102, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go double check that. Yeah. Seattle traded their fourth and seventh round selection, 102 and 235, to Denver in exchange for fourth, fifth, and sixth round selections, 121, 136, and 207. Fair enough. So when we come to the first pick, the Seahawks take, as we all know, at 118, they take Tyrese Knight, a linebacker from UTEP that everybody else has rated as a sixth round pick. I also don't think linebackers a desperate need. It's a need, but it's not a desperate need. So, okay, fine. They pick that. And then they take AJ Barner, tight end from Michigan. Okay. And again, to show you guys what others think of it, Warren Sharp's metrics had Tyrese Knight and AJ Barner as two of the top 10 most overdrafted players in this draft. Tyrese Knight went 118. He was expected to be 192, sixth round pick. AJ Barner went 121, expected to be 181, also a sixth round pick. So this is an example of the Seahawks not getting great value. Now, in my previous versions of the draft redo, my previous version, I went for Cade Stover, the tight end, but I started thinking, is tight end really that desperate to go for one right now? And I don't know that it is. And then Rob pointed out yesterday, I did have Malik Mustafa at 118. That's the guy I'm taking. He's a big, not a big, but he's a hard hitting, strong safety who can come in and maybe not start for you right away, but contribute, play, and become a starter in year two. So the two guys that we picked up this year in free agency, let's go back and look at them. Rayshawn Jenkins and who was the other guy we signed? Was it Kayvon Wallace? Yeah, Kayvon Wallace. Those guys are on 1-year deals. So you slide in Malik Mustafa as a starter and in another year, and I think he ends up being a better player than Tyrese Knight. At 121, AJ Barner, tight end. I'm not even tight end's not a need, but he's a small, 250-pound blocking tight end who can't catch. So the Seahawks apparently really wanted a cornerback because they took Nehemiah Pritchett at 136. However, guy who was still sitting on the board at 121 when we took AJ Barner is TJ Tampa. He's bigger, he's faster, he tested better, and as Staten pointed out, the Ravens took him. We're playing the Ravens defense. So if he was a fit for the Ravens, he was a fit for the Seahawks. But they prioritized a blocking tight end from Michigan who can't catch. So my two picks are going to be, instead of Tyrese Knight and AJ Barner, my two picks are going to be Malik Mustafa at 118, TJ Tampa, cornerback, at 121. That brings us to the fifth round pick, 136. Well, this couldn't be more obvious. I've said it over and over again. I'm going to keep saying it until they go out and do something about the quarterback position. I am taking Spencer Rattler, the quarterback, at 136. I would have taken him before. I'm not waiting any longer. He went a few picks later to the New Orleans Saints, where I expect he will be a starter in 2025 and a very successful one. Unless he has some sort of major drug or alcohol problem that we don't know about, which is why he slipped. Other than that, he's going to be the starter. So at 167, the fifth round pick that we picked up in the trade. I should have a little star there next to that trade, next to that for a trade. Then we can take Tyrese Knight. You know why? Because according to everybody, he's still going to be there. 167. Let's look at the consensus big board over at the mock draft database. And let's look at the linebackers. And let's see, Peyton Wilson, Edgerrin Cooper, Junior Colson, Jeremiah Trotter, Tommy Eichenberg I really liked. But where did they expect Tyrese Knight to go? 189 in the 6th round. So I'm suspecting that he's still there at 167 and I'm taking him. Now, we get to pick 179. We need a tight end. Who do I like? I like Tanner McLaughlin out of Arizona. Arizona State, Arizona. Tight end who can run downfield and catch the ball. Tested much better athletically than what's his name? AJ Barner. I can't even remember his name because I don't want to think about him. At 192, at left guard, the Seahawks took. Who'd the Seahawks take? The Seahawks took at 192. They took DJ James, another corner. I'm instead taking Christian Mahogany. Oh, sorry, 192. Did I get that right? Yeah, they took DJ James. I'm taking Christian Mahogany. Why am I taking him over the other guard, Satoa Luomea or Michael Jarrell, the offensive tackle from Findlay? Because he can play left guard. Because Tanner McLaughlin has played left, or Christian Mahogany has played left guard. And a lot of people had him rated as high as a 3rd round pick. So I think he's a much better value there. Now, in the 7th round, the 207th pick, the one where I swapped picks in the 7th round and moved up, 24 spots? I'm taking Brendan Rice, the wide receiver kick returner from USC. Why? Because he can return kicks. Now, there are some rumors that Nehemiah Pritchett was picked at pick 136 because he's a kick returner. Well, now we don't have to bother with that. So everybody's saying, oh, well, these corners, they fit what Mike McDonald wants to do. So does TJ Tampa, because it's the Ravens' way of doing things. And guess who the Ravens took? TJ Tampa in the 5th round. So this is my draft. I think this set of players is going to be better than John Schneider's set of players. And of course, that will all come down to opinion. It will all come down to opinion. And everybody has one. And now we'll put it to the test, though, because it should be fairly obvious. If Ruka Rojo has 6 sacks as a rookie and makes the all-rookie team and, is under consideration for Defensive Rookie of the Year with the Falcons, I think, who drafted him. And Byron Murphy has a typical average interior 3-tech defensive lineman's rookie season who's not named Fletcher Cox or Aaron Donald. I win. If Spencer Rattler becomes a starter by his 2nd year in New Orleans, I win. If Malik Mustafa is a one-man wrecking crew out there and destroys Seahawks receivers, I win. So there are going to be tangible ways to evaluate this. So there we are. We're all set. Now, let's go look at comments and see what people are getting. They're really getting irritated. Here's my channel, Seahawk Boys TV. Fish on 111, another know nothing pretending to know something. Dude, you don't even use your real name. So at least I am out here under my real name. I'm a well-known public person. I'm on TV. I'm probably on your TV right now, being paid to give my opinion on stuff. You don't even use your real name. So, yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for the input. Sean Beeler, 7184, at least your real name. Wow, I guess they let everyone have a bad opinion. That being said, I wasn't completely happy either, but we didn't have draft capital. Yeah, but as I just pointed out, we could have done more with the draft capital we had. So we could have done more with draft capital had, including taking that trade from the Vikings, which would have made us look a lot, would have made things look a lot better. Okay, now let's slide over. Now, again, I've got this spread out across 2 or 3 different channels. So let's go look at the comments on the other channels. Here we go. Here's the comments over on Mike Barra 333. Should we maximize that as much as we can? There we go. It's still hard to see, isn't it? How about that? That's a little better. Um, I give this video an F. Okay, that's cool. I give it an A. You're not even worth listening to this video. Okay, yeah, really, yeah. Thanks for the detailed explanation as to why. Okay. I mean, seriously, that's like that's the best you can do, really. I mean, again, these are just people that are just what I'm saying, what I say, the grades I'm giving, the things I'm pointing out are scaring them. That's why they are angry with me. They're angry with me because I'm scaring them, because I'm telling them I don't think that this organization knows what the fuck they're John Hine, 1663. Okay, I watched the first minute. All I need to see. I'm surprised you're wearing a Mr. Unlimited fanboy shirt. I must have been wearing the Russell Wilson shirt. Russell will always do Russell and isn't team ball. Get over yourself and Russell. Opinions. Everybody has one. Russell's not team ball. Winning football games isn't team ball. 359 career touchdown passes. 359 career TD. See, because people, um, these are all people who were totally behind getting rid of Russell Wilson. These are the clowns that booed Russell Wilson after everything he's done for the Seattle community, all the visits he made to the Children's Hospital, all the things that he did. He won the NFL Walter Payton Man of the Year. But yeah, Russ is a bad guy. This guy thinks trading Wilson was a mistake. We stopped agreeing on the 2-yard line. Yeah. Okay. It was Pete who threw the ball on the 2. Russell just did what he was told. And what I said was, if it came to Pete or Russ, I'm dumping Pete. That was me 2 years ago in March. Okay. If you have to pick between Pete and Russ, I'm dumping Pete. And here we are. Here we are. 2 years later, and the Seahawks apparently agree with me. Too bad they didn't listen to me then. Might have still traded Russ. Not the call. 90 pass plays from near the goal line that year, and not one interception, not one. That is wrong. Okay, that same play. Oops. Resulted in an interception, one OPI. So you're wrong about that. Spencer Rattler, ha ha ha. Okay, great. That's again very intelligent. Yeah. My response to that is Geno Smith. There's a reason you don't get paid to talk about this stuff. Yeah. Thanks for the detail. What? There's a reason you don't get paid to talk about this stuff. Yeah, and that is again. This is all fear. This is all right. Sure, we'll come back to this by September. Yeah, can't wait. By the way, one good rookie season from Byron Murphy doesn't matter if the guy ends up being dead. Bruh, tell me you're joking, laughing my ass off. Tell me you watch Seahawks retard Nelson and Dan Beans think they know what they're talking about. A boot? Okay, that was very Canadian of me there. Draft? Are you kidding? You must not actually watch college football. Transformational player at 16 and you want them to pass? Ugh, haters, go Hawks. He said he only watched one game. No, I didn't say that. I said I was focused primarily on one game. Okay, I know enough that CJ Stroud would be our quarterback if I was in charge. There we go. Again, just hate, hate, hate. Oh, I scared you. I scared you. The Seahawks might suck at drafting. Oh, wow, clueless. No wonder I've never checked out this channel. Do you even watch college football? Reply, just the quarterbacks, and they were all better than Gino. Now that I'm just getting back in the guy's face. That's not really fair. Gino has played him much better than I thought he could, but he's not good. If you, it's really easy to sit there and criticize the GM if you know so much. Why don't you run for the job? Yeah, it's not an elected position. Also, CJ Stroud, which by the way, it's all in my Mike Barra 333 account on Twitter. It's all my Mike Barra 333 account on Twitter. So I was on CJ Stroud well before the draft. I said he was the best player and the best quarterback in that draft. And you can't change that. You just can't change that. Okay, so do we have any more? Do we have any more comments? Let's go over. Let's go over to Firefox and look over at Mike Barra 3. Let's see what we have here over on Mike Barra 3. Why even do coverage if you're going to be unnecessarily pessimistic? C plus for the last two drafts, we had 3 finalists for either defensive or offensive rookie of the year. The last 2 drafts, they didn't win, by the way. Might even do it again with Murphy this year. That's not an easy thing to do. That is basically drafting 1 or 2 guys in the 95th percentile the last 2 years, not to mention a bunch of solid starters still growing into upper talent while on their rookie contract. Why did you mention the Wilson trade in the context of a bad thing when that was an amazing decision in hindsight? You probably think we should trade Metcalf too. Lama, do something else with your time because this ain't it. Yeah, how do I? Yeah, okay, I'm gonna have to give this guy a longer response. And I'm like, actually, you know what I should do is I should slide on over here to Seahawk Boys TV, and I should get in here to Seahawks last 2 drafts haven't been great. They just suck less than the previous 7. That's what we'll do. Slide on over. We'll just give him a link to that, and that'll speak for itself. Loogie says this guy is funny ASF. As fuck? Okay. Yeah, he's also right. Okay. So they say, don't feed the trolls, but I'm going to go ahead and feed the trolls and not really be too concerned about it. Okay, guys. It's going to wrap it for today's show. Again, continue like and subscribe. Get over to Seahawk Boys TV. That's really where you want to be. Is Seahawk Boys TV. View my channel on YouTube. There it is, Seahawk Boys TV. Please go there, like, subscribe, or dislike. It's fine if you dislike. I don't care. Just trying to build up the followers, build up the subscribers, get some interest in an alternative view of just how bad the Seahawks have screwed up and what the future is. Also, get on over to Seahawk Boy Mike Barra on YouTube. Seahawk Boy Mike Barra. Check out my 2024 draft redo, and I promise this will be the last time I change it. It's not going to get changed. It says 1 hour. It's going to have a timestamp on it, and we're going to see whose group of players ends up better, mine or John Schneider's. And here's the thing: if it's even debatable, if it's even something we're discussing a year from now, then maybe John Schneider should be fired, and maybe I should take over. Or maybe Rob Staten should be the GM. I'm not like Rob. I'm not humble. I'm not going to sit here and say, well, if you think you can do a better job than John Schneider, then why don't you be the GM? Okay. Okay. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go get a fucking quarterback. So that's the whole point, is that John Schneider is supposed to be smarter than I am. He's supposed to be millions of dollars smarter than I am. 6, 8, 10 million a year, whatever he's making. He's supposed to be smarter than I am. If he's not smarter than I am, why does he have a job working for the Seattle Seahawks? Why? So again, slide over to Seahawk Boys TV. Check it out. Become a subscriber. And even if you just want to hate on me, become a subscriber. That's awesome. That's fine. It's fine. I'll jostle with you. And in the end, we'll see who's right. I've been right about an awful lot of things in the past. So we'll just have to wait and see how it all plays out. All right, guys, that is going to do it. I would like to thank you for being here and welcome you to come on back. Next time we do a video, it's going to be quiet for a while, but as issues come up and things happen, and we're going to get into mini camps pretty soon, and let's hope that the guys we have don't get injured. But I think this is a 7-10, 8-9, 9-8, at best 10-7 football team. Even if the defense is better, even if they jump from 29th to 20th in defense or against the run, or 29th to 17th, how many games do you think that's going to win for the Seahawks next year? 1? Maybe none? Does that make up the gap between the Seahawks and the 37-3 Ravens? Does that make up the gap between the Seahawks and the 49ers, who've now beaten us, 5, 6 straight times in a row? No, the only thing that's going to change that is a star quarterback. And the only way you get a star quarterback is to take a risk on one. So unless Sam Howell really is the next Brock Purdy or Tom Brady, and yes, Brock Purdy is better than Geno Smith, we're not going to be any better this year, even with better coaching. So we're in the first, after a 2-year rebuild that failed after we traded Russ, we're starting a new rebuild. That's the reality. That's the reality. And championship teams are built around quarterbacks in 2024. Quarterbacks and wide receivers. And by the way, would I trade DK Metcalf for the right deal? Because there's no point in having DK Metcalf as your number one wide receiver if your quarterbacks are Sam Howell and Geno Smith. We'll leave it there. Thanks for being here. Love you guys. See you next time.